This week on Ridiculously Bored.
But for some reason, I also took out my brother and sister because they also got charcoal that year.
What's the worst thing you've ever had to punish your kids for?
I think it might say more about your brains than theirs.
It looks like a big 50-foot.
I got to unpack this. I got so many things on my mind right now.
Hey, everybody. My name is David Michael.
And I'm Michael Carter.
And we are Ridiculously Bored. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back to episode number 6. This is the holiday special. We're trying to be politically correct for all the different nationalities and denominations and religious preferences out there. How's it going, Michael?
Very good. Thank you. I know David has made it very generic holiday. For the Jewish people out there, your holiday's over already.
Well, we still wish everyone the happiest holiday season ever. Of course.
So, Dave, I'm going to start again with some technical corrections from the last episode. Boy.
And I'm sure there were dozens.
No, just a couple. First off, you can buy a Laserdisc on eBay. There was one for 99 cents. And as a reminder, I think I paid $800 or $900 for mine when I bought it. But for 99 cents, I could get a new one.
Oh, fantastic.
Baby wipes. I think this one you might have a leg to stand on. Wet naps were
invented.
You know what?
I actually looked this one up after the last episode because I knew it was going to come up.
Well, my cousin Baloney sent me a message and said, hey, did anybody Google this yet? And he gave me some info. So wet naps were created in 1958. And then they were actually sold.
They were called moist towelettes for about 30 years.
And sold and first used by Colonel Sanders at KFC.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The term baby wipes, though, even though there was some form of a product, the term baby wipes did not come around until the 90s. So I'll give you a technical win on that.
Okay, well, let's be realistic, though. Did anyone ever wipe your ass as a kid? Do you remember anyone ever wiping your ass with a wet nap or a moist towelette?
In this instance, no.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I have paid people to do it when I was older. No, I'm just kidding.
Do we have to bleep that one out? I don't know. Can we leave that in?
Yeah. The other thing is a friend of mine said that in Rockland, they call Mischief Night or Devil's Night, they call it Gate Night.
Rockland County,
New York, which the follow-up question of mine was, I didn't know you were from Rockland. And he said, I'm not. So he said somebody has told him that over the time. So
is it gate night because like you were supposed to like lock your gates, or did everybody live in a gated community? I need to understand that.
That I don't know.
Don't know.
We'll leave that as cliffhanger next episode. No.
Okay. All right. Whatever. So every time we have an episode, I usually have a drink in hand, and I almost always get asked what I'm drinking. And no, I was not drinking elephant semen last week. So I think we cleared that one up.
David has made this a new segment, David's Drink of the Week. And I think it's specifically so I don't name it afterwards. So but go ahead. What are you drinking this week?
So this week we have a PBJ whiskey. So it is part Screwball, which is, let's see if we can get the camera to focus on that. Go. It is peanut butter whiskey, which is fantastic. And then the only cherries you should ever put in any alcoholic beverage, Luxardo cherries. They're maraschino cherries, but they're pretty fantastic. And I don't know where they're from.
And so this goes to, I must follow up with, they are not paid sponsors. David just really likes those products.
But if the marketing person from Luxardo or Screwball Whiskey would like to sponsor any future episodes, I will gladly have a beverage in your name in future episodes.
Shit,
so please let us know. You might even get Mike to drink.
It's great. I drink each week. I drink water out of my Boba Fett cantina.
All right. So you brought up Boba Fett. Can we talk about The Mandalorian? I think it's been long enough to where the cat's out of the bag. Everyone's seen it. If you haven't seen it, pause this episode right now, go watch it, and then come back because we're about to spoil the shit out of it for you.
Yeah, I think as long as we say spoiler alert, we're covered.
Yeah, spoiler alert. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So that show has been, so it's 16 episodes.
16, yeah.
Over about 14 months now. The show has been fucking amazing.
Hold on. I fucking love Jon Favreau.
Mm-hmm.
I've loved him since Swingers, right? Mm-hmm. Because when Swingers first came out, you and I were just starting to kind of do our Vegas thing and get the trip going. And that movie was all about guys just going and hanging out in Vegas and having a good time. And I could totally relate to that movie. So ever since that movie came out, I've been a big Jon Favreau fan. So the minute I heard that he was doing something inside the Star Wars universe, I was super excited because I feel like anything he does, he kind of takes it to another level of completeness. And like he did with Iron Man, he did a bunch of different movies, even the movie Chef's which had nothing to do with, I know, it's like I never even enjoyed cooking in general. But the minute I watched that movie, I went out and bought a panini press because I wanted to make a freaking Cuban, because half the movie talks about his little truck with the Cuban sandwiches.
See, after that movie, I actually just went out and found a Cuban. No, I'm just kidding.
What was his name?
Is he cute? Is he cute? That's a Swinger reference for those listening.
Yes, it is.
So same here, right? So I've been a big fan of his as well. But the approach that he took on this show, right? Well, first of all, season 1, episode 1, they bounce and announce that there's a baby Yoda, right? The child, whatever you want to call him, Grogu now. But
Grogu. Come on, say it correctly.
But that's Jesus something Christ. That was such a surprise that was out of nowhere. Yeah. And then the way they just been building it over the time. And then, as I mentioned, then they get to Boba Fett in season 2. And they've been riding like, Batman and Robin. It's been fucking amazing.
Yeah. Well, they took all the things. I mean, as someone who grew up as a child in the first series, episodes 4, 5, and 6, there was a certain nostalgic quality to those movies. Mm-hmm. And then Lucas came out with episodes 1, 2, and 3. And I think a lot of us felt kind of abandoned, like
disappointed,
all the qualities that we loved about the first 3 movies or episodes 4, 5, and 6. We felt like he catered those directly to kids and the toy market. Mm-hmm. I felt like those movies were made to have a bunch of toys to sell, and I was never really into it. And I think Favreau took The Mandalorian and kind of took it back and put us back in those same places that the first, episodes 4, 5, and 6 were, and they were dark and they were dingy and they were like questionable, and it wasn't all like, polished. It felt really rough. And I just felt like he did a great job bringing people like us back into the fold. Because even the last 3 movies, 7, 8, and 9, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, I felt like they were pretty good. But again, I felt like they were the next generation. I didn't feel like it was really calling out to my generation, and I felt like The Mandalorian was.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So 7 I thought was okay, but that's basically because 1, 2, and 3 were fucking horrendous, right? So those came out and reset the bar of like, yeah, kind of Star Wars is dead, right? Then 7 came out, that was pretty good. 8 and 9, I think they fell off a little bit as they moved forward. Rogue One, I thought was a great movie. I thought that had the first feel of the original trilogy.
I thought Solo was pretty good.
Solo I thought was okay. But the thing with Mandalorian is you talk about bringing it back to what we like. It's all fan service, right? One of the things when they trade the Beskar in that white cantina, I don't know what it's called, the thing, that was some throwaway scene in the old movies where the guy's running through the hallway, literally in a Hamilton Beach ice cream maker. That's what that is. And if you rewatch it, that's exactly what it is. So it's just the total fan service that's been done. And then, as David mentioned, spoiler alert, when episode 16 happens and Luke comes to save Baby Yoda and just fucking rips through all of the stormtroopers, the dark troopers. And the funny thing is the people who are on the other side of the door, they don't even know if they should let him in or not, right? Because that's how new the Jedi is and what's happening. So I just thought it was so fantastic. And then the icing far and away on the cake was closing credits happen. They flash back to Boba Fett's place, and Jabba the Hutt's place with Boba Fett walking in and taking it over. So like you can't fucking beat that.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a surprise. I gotta say though, I was super disappointed in the deep fake of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, that could have been better.
It was, I mean, all right. So Disney is probably the premier movie maker, filmmaker in this century, right? As far as technology goes, they own Lucasfilms, they own Marvel, they own Pixar, which kind of was the cornerstone of 3D modeling for movies and 3D characterizations. And I can buy a fucking app for $1.99 on the Apple App Store that could put my face on Britney Spears' body for a gag, and it looks 10 times better than Luke Skywalker did in this fucking episode of The Mandalorian.
So that was very specific process there. How many times have you done this gag, as you called it?
I've actually never done it, but I have a friend of mine that has the app. And the reason why I've never done it is because he's kind of cornered the market on it. He keeps uploading these videos of himself, and it's on like Britney Spears or Madonna or like a bunch of like female actors. And it's hysterical, but it looks really good. Like the lighting, it looks like his face obviously it looks awkward, right? As awkward as fuck, right? But it looks really good. And I just have a hard time believing that Disney / Marvel / Pixar of all companies couldn't do a better job of putting Mark Hamill's face on another actor's body.
Yeah. And Marvel's cornered the market on that reverse aging thing, right? Like they've had scenes where Nick Fury is 35 years younger in Captain Marvel, right? Yeah, I agree. And I also noticed
somebody made a deep fake of Solo and put Harrison Ford's face on it. And they did a great fucking job. Better than what I saw this past episode. So not to take anything away from the story. The story was fantastic. Loved the entire series. Favreau's figured out how to make women who typically don't like the Marvel universe or the Star Wars universe like the Star Wars universe because of, quote unquote, baby Yoda. So there's a bunch of memes too. Have you seen the memes out there where there's one where this guy's like, he's talking to his wife. He's like, listen to me. Repeat after me. Grow goo. And then it goes to her and she says, Baby Yoda. It's just so funny.
No.
Just like, he's brought women into the fold, and I think he's opened it up to a wider audience.
No, my favorite meme though, and I think we'll put a link in the bottom, is David on Britney Spears' body.
Yeah. Well, I might have to download the app just to put it in this episode.
I'll give you $1 towards the $1.99
as the end credits instead of the bloopers.
So I've also I've watched the scene when Luke's ship, the X-Wing fighter, gets onto the vessel 3 times. Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, there was a couple things that jumped out at me watching it a couple times. Was the lip syncing was off. Like even when he was talking, it was a little bit off. So yeah, but overall, I think it's an amazing show. And if you're not watching it, you should be.
Well, if you're not watching it and you're still listening to us, sorry, we just fucked up 2 seasons for you.
Yeah. No, hopefully that you weren't going to binge that over your Christmas break. Holiday break.
Holiday break. All right. Speaking of holidays, we teased last week that we were going to talk about the shittiest gift that you've either gotten or given. I'm going to let you go first this time.
All right. So I'm going to give one for something that I got as a kid, and I think it's standard issue. If this has happened to you, this got to be on the list. 35, 40 years later, I still think about it. One year I actually got charcoal from Santa. So I actually
that doesn't surprise me though. I feel like that should have been like a norm for you.
Only once? No. That'll be what we'll be reading later. People will say that.
Yeah.
But it was actually like the briquettes put in a plastic bag from Santa. The best part about it though was whatever happened. I don't remember what happened, but I do remember. I remember the background of it, meaning we all went into my parents' room. We went onto the bed. We were all opening our gifts at the same time. And I opened mine first, charcoal. So whatever happened, and I really wish I could remember what it was, but for some reason, I also took out my brother and sister because they also got charcoal that year. So all 3 of us, something happened right beforehand. So that's mine. I mean, I know
so your parents were just trying to make a statement. I'm sorry. Santa Claus was trying to make a statement.
Yes. It was, I'm watching you.
All right.
So,
all right.
And then you go ahead, and then I'll give you another one where a gift I gave. What do you have?
So I thought long and hard about this one, and I didn't feel like I had a story that can do this justice. So while I was Christmas shopping this week, I decided I needed to come up with a really shitty gift. Not only for the story, but I can't even say who it's for because just in case they see this before they open it. But I did get, I was on Amazon and I was looking for gag gifts. And you know how Amazon has that feed that says, recommendations for you. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that fucking came up was something called #catbutts. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's a coloring book of basically cats from the perspective of their asshole.
So now, hold on a second. Amazon doesn't recommend shit. Like, you didn't go in there and ask for an extension cord for your garage, and then all of a sudden it recommends maybe you'd like cat butt art. What the fuck are you buying or looking at that's in the logic there of Amazon?
So I've long felt like Big Brother is upon us and has been upon us for quite a while. And I'll give you a perfect example. You and I, last episode, talked about Manscaped products. Mm-hmm. Okay. Ever since we released that episode, I get ads for Manscaped on almost every social media platform and on news sites. So if I go to like CNN or MSNBC or Fox or whatever, I see ads for Manscaped. And Instagram, Facebook, yep. I'm getting ads for them. So clearly there's an algorithm that's reading into stuff that I'm attached to, and it's feeding stuff to me. So to your point, I was looking for gag gifts. So I don't know if that was the number one gag gift or not, but I didn't get that. Right. And the reason I didn't get that is because right next to it was something far better. Okay. It was a calendar, a wall calendar. I think it's like a 12 by 12 wall calendar.
Okay.
Of dogs
licking their balls.
Shit.
Oh, so close.
Taking a shit. So literally it's a photograph of like ancient Egypt, and there's a dog taking a dump right in front of the pyramids. There's the Grand Canyon, there's Mount Rushmore, like all these places where you would normally see like beautiful locations. There's a dog taking a shit there. And it's not the dog like just in the humpback position. There's literally like a half a log coming out of its ass. So I saw that and I'm like, that's the perfect gag gift for so-and-so. Yeah. And I'm not going to ruin it just in case they happen to watch this episode before I give it to them.
Okay. Couple problems here. One. So you talk about this algorithm of things you're doing. Last week, episode 5, if anybody's interested, you talked about drawing the ball sack ass photo from behind. So I'm guessing at some point, maybe we mentioned cats.
Maybe
and now all of a sudden
there's some logic there. Yeah, I can see that algorithm picking up. 2,
I don't blame the person who created that calendar. That's the whole idea of a free society, right? I think I might have said free calendar, the calendar. Yeah. That's the idea. You make something, you hope somebody buys it. You want to sell as many as you can.
Capitalism at its finest.
That's right. Where I have the problem is with you, is the person who actually buys it. That's where my problem lies.
This is not the first time you've had a problem with me. So that should be no surprise.
Oh, geez. I can't wait. The good thing, though, is that you bought that. And now a ton of other shit's going to come up.
Yeah, I'm going to get recommendations.
Literally shit in this case. You're going to get a lot of those. So that's worth the weight in gold right there.
Yeah. So before you tell your story, I also think at some point in time, we need to pivot because I think we've talked about either balls or shit in every episode.
So you're suggesting
the first episode was, do you wipe forward to back or back to front, right? I think we need to pivot and pick another subject at some point. Doesn't have to be now. Doesn't have to be next episode. But at some point in time, we need to talk about something else.
But you know what the funny thing is right? It's not like we've said, hey, let's talk about shit, ass balls. Like, that's not how it's happened. It's just happened because that's the stuff we talk about. Stupid stories, different things, crazy ideas. So it's just the way it is. But yeah, no, I think you're right.
The moral of the story is men never grow up.
Oh, that's 100% accurate. I don't actually think you're going to have a lot of women argue that. No,
not at all.
So the other one I wanted to tell you was one year, my wife and I, we had gotten to a point where we really didn't know what to buy each other anymore. And like, if we tried to kind of surprise each other, we potentially would end up with a dog shitting calendar, right? Like we didn't know what to buy. So what we did instead was I was like, tell me what you want. So she told me exactly what she wanted, gave me a photo of it, gave me the link and everything, right? So it was like, it's this Tiffany bracelet, it's this design, it's this color, it's this size, everything. So I buy it, wrap it, give it to her. You know, she knows what it is, but you still go through the process. She opens it up. Oh, thanks. 2 days later, she returned it. So I'm like, that's it. Like from here forward, we're not buying gifts anymore. Like you buy your own shit, I buy my own shit. She changed her mind. But it's not like I picked the gift. She picked the gift and told me what to get her. So yeah.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. As far as like gifts I've ever gotten, you know, there's the white elephant stuff, and you know that stuff. I mean, it's supposed to be a gag gift, right? So it's supposed to be something kind of crazy and kind of stupid. I remember a time for Christmas when I was probably 8 or 9, and my grandfather, who on my mom's side wasn't really kind of super into like family gatherings and stuff like that. Never really had a good relationship with him. One time for Christmas, and he never got me a gift, but this one time he actually got me a gift. And I remember it. It was so bad that I actually remember it here 40 years later. He literally re-gifted me what seemed like a bunch of shit that was lying around his house.
So like unopened, like a deck of 51 cards, things like that?
No, it wasn't even that. It was like a plastic horse, a coin, just like totally like random shit that you could see. Like if you were to go up into your attic and you'd be like, oh shit, I didn't know I still had that. Like that's what he got me for Christmas. And I remember,
legs on a horse is better than none, right?
My mom was so furious. She like, my mom's not one to kind of mince words. She will, you know, if she feels something, she's got to get it out. She like let him have it, like ripped into him. Like, what the hell is wrong with you?
So just checking, your mom, it's your mom's dad, right? Not your aunt's dad. Correct. I want to know. I want to make sure I know which one. He passed away
quite a while ago. Okay. So yeah.
So he was the first guy I remember being truly the definition of a dirty old man. Like the stories 100%. He would tell, the way he would talk 100%. To women, the things he would do. He was the first one I remember that I was like, oh, this is exactly what they talk about when they talk about dirty old men.
Yeah. So he was, I have to be careful what I divulge here, because I don't want to unearth the family, history,
the wrath of your mom.
I know. And then have to, and then have to deal with it. He was an interesting character, and I'll tell a story about him that I can tell because it happened to me. But I went away to college, and he was always a big golfer. I went away to college and started to learn how to golf because I had a bunch of guys that I worked with, and we played golf all the time. They got me into golf. They taught me how to play. I bought some clubs, and ASU, Arizona State University, has a fantastic golf course, or at least they used to. And as students, we got like, it was like $4 a round or something like that. So it was ridiculously cheap. So I was still going to school, and so I had that discount. So we would all go and we would play on this fantastic golf course, right? The first summer I come home, my mom's like, well, you should reach out to your grandfather. Like, you guys finally have something in common. Why don't you go out and maybe he can show you how to swing a golf club? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Some
bonding moments.
All right, a bonding moment. So we go and we hit the driving range, and, we're swinging, and I'm like, oh, what am I doing wrong? And he's like, oh, I don't really know. Here, like, just watch me. And he tees off, and he looks like he hasn't played in like probably 15, 20 years, right? I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm going to get much from this quote unquote lesson, right? So then he kind of turns to me and he says, so can you drink yet? Are you legal drinking age? And I'm like, no, I'm like 18, 19 years old. He's like, oh, that's too bad. He's like, I know a place where you and I can go. It's a bar right down the street. We can clean up in there, kid. You line them up, I'll knock them down. Like, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, but he's literally trying to get me to like go to a bar with him and pick up women.
You were going to be his wingman.
And I was going to be his wingman. Yeah.
You should have whipped out your fake ID and said, buddy, I'm ready. Let's go.
That's right. No, I mean, at the time I had a girlfriend, so I was not interested at all. Plus the whole thought of, kind of going to a bar with my grandfather and picking up chicks wasn't all that.
I cannot imagine going bar hopping with my grandfather. My father, forget about my grandfather. Like, let's bring it down one generation. I can't imagine going to a bar with my dad, him trying to pick up somebody, right? I know he's still married, but my mom's still alive and all that. But still, like, just the general thought of that, forget about with my grandfather. But, you do see sometimes in these, like, TV shows and movies and stuff like that, they always talk about these old suave guys, silver foxes, things like that. So he could have been your lucky charm.
He was most certainly the smooth talker. He was single for a reason, habitually single. So I'm sure he had plenty of stories that he can share and keep us entertained for quite a while.
Well, unfortunately, he's dead, so he can't tell us any of it.
God rest his soul. All right. So I'm talking to my daughter this week and just kind of shifting gears here, unless you have more on the shittiest gift topic you wanted to bring up.
I do not.
All right. And she immediately says, the show's pretty funny. I noticed you don't really talk about me a whole lot. And I'm like, well, I just, kind of don't want to air all the family stuff for the world to hear. And she's like, well, Dad, like, it's what I'm here for. Like, tell some stories. And I'm like, okay, you asked for it. So I decided to add to our agenda. What's the worst thing you've ever had to punish your kids for?
So my kids haven't had anything big, right, yet. And, my son's 12, my daughter's 8. So I think that's part of it. So I think for me, I'm going to do a you here. For me, it's the typical not listening, doing something wrong, not cleaning up after himself. So there hasn't been anything major yet. And if you're going to tell the story I think you're going to tell, I'm actually going to default to you this time to go ahead and you can tell your story.
Well, I'll tell the story and then you'll have to tell me what you think the story was going to be, because maybe there's more than one good story that I need to tell here.
Yeah. And wait, and before you tell the story, I will like to point out that when you told me your daughter said you didn't talk about her enough, I said I think it would be really funny if you just said that line and then we didn't talk about her again for the rest of the episode. But no, you want to tell a story.
I'm feeling in the giving spirit, it being, the holidays and whatnot.
It could be the peanut butter and jelly talking.
Yeah. So your son is 12.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the key phrase there is your son. You will have plenty of stories to tell in the coming years. So we're going to keep this segment open and maybe just kind of table it for you to come back to at a later point in time, because he is your son. And I have a feeling there's going to be some gold in there.
Yeah. And he is exhibiting very much characteristics of me growing up, as well as my smart ass mouth. So yes, I agree. I think there will be stories.
And both of your kids, for their age, in my experience, are brilliant for their age. They are probably 2 to 3 years far superior to their age when it comes to intellect. So I've had adult conversations with both your children and they blow my mind every time. So you, my friend, are going to have your hands full, particularly with your daughter.
I think it might say more about your brains than theirs. They're like, who's this fucking knucklehead?
Maybe so, but I happen to think that your kids are particularly brilliant. So we'll see how that plays out. But so my daughter was, at the time of this story, I want to say 13 years old. And she was kind of going through the phase of, the makeup, the eyebrows, where they painted on their eyebrows. And I mean, I have some pretty damn thick ass eyebrows. She would make her eyebrows look darker and thicker and larger than mine. And, you kind of always used to tell her like, what are you doing? Like, oh, it's the style. Okay, fine. I'm going to let you. My mom let me have like a blonde tail when I was a kid. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to let you do your thing. I'm not going to get in the way of, your sense of fashion.
Yeah, of all things your mom should have gotten in the way of. She should have gotten in the way of that. One quick snip with a scissor would have been fine for everybody. No ducktail needed.
The funny thing is she's the one that did my hair. So I'm like, hey, Mom, I want a tail. and I want it blonde. And she's like, okay, cool. She gets out the stuff to do it, and she does it. So, so that was the funny part. But anyway, so my daughter's 13, and she's like, Dad, I want to go to the movies with a friend of mine. And I'm like, all right, well, who's this friend? And, oh, it's a girl and her name is so-and-so. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I met her once before. She's not like a friend, like a friend of the family friend. She's kind of like a new friend that she met in school, right?
Sounds a lot like not somebody you know well enough that you can talk to.
Yeah, no, exactly. 100%.
I don't know this story. I want to say that off the record. I mean, on the record now. I don't know this story, but I can see where this is going.
Yeah. So, so I'm like, all right, I want her parents, number and stuff like that, so that if I need to, I can call them and whatever. So she does. That was the thing. Like, if you want to hang out with someone, that's fine. I need to meet them, and I need to have their parents. I need to meet their parents and have their numbers, so that if I ever need to call them, I can get a hold of them. So, anyways, so I pick, and it was a female. So I picked the girl up, and they're like, they want to go to the movie. I'm like, all right, what movie do you want to see? And they're like, oh, I want to see movie ABC. I don't remember what the movie was. And I'm like, okay, well, didn't we just see that a couple weeks ago? She's like, yeah, but she hasn't seen it. She wants to see it again. I'm like, all right, fine. So I take them to the movie. I drop them off at the movie theaters at about 10 minutes before the movie's supposed to start, right? So the movie's supposed to be an hour and a half. I look it up. I'm like, all right, if they went to the 7:30 showing, it should be done by 9. And I'm going to pick them up at like 9:05 in front of the movie theater, right? So I tell her to be in front of the movie theater. So my wife and I, we go and we park in front of the movie theater, and I text her, and I'm like, all right, she had a phone at this time. I'm like, where are you? And no answer. 10 minutes go by. So the smart and technical dad that I am, I've got Find My iPhone, on her phone, right? So I pull it up, and it shows where her phone is, but it shows within a 50-foot to 100-foot radius, right? So the dot isn't exactly on the movie theater. It's kind of behind the movie theater, right? So, I walk around, and there's a whole like apartment. There's a gated community of apartments behind the movie theater.
Oh, that's great. Sorry, not great for you, but that's great. Yeah. Like that's some planning to use a movie theater that's in front of an apartment complex that you can go to.
Oh, wait. So immediately my blood's boiling. I'm like, I'm gonna catch her, and I'm gonna catch her good, right? So I jump the fence because it's a gated community. I have to jump this wall in order to get in there, right? So I jump the wall, and I start walking out the community, and I'm like, what that like? I'm like looking at the phone, I'm looking where it is, and it's just the dot's in the middle of the street. I'm like, the hell? Like, how good is this friggin' Find My iPhone? So I start listening to see if I can hear music and like people like having a party. So I start going door to door, and I like walk up to every door, like, 3-level apartment complex, right? So I'm like 3rd level, 2nd level, 1st level. I'm listening at the door. Thank God, like Nest Cam and like Ring wasn't a thing back then, because I would have gotten arrested for sure.
Also, thankfully, this place didn't have armed security. Just a side note.
Right. So finally, I get in front of an apartment that sounds like they're having a party. And I'm like, all right, you're busted. So I go and I walk up to the door, and I'm just about to knock on the door, and my phone buzzes, and I've got a text from my wife, and she's like, she's out here. I've got her. She's in the car. Come back. So I'm like, oh, all right, motherfucker. So I, go back out of the apartment complex, jump the wall, go back into the movie theater, and I jump in the car, and she's in the back seat, and her friend's in the back seat, and they look like they were guilty as fuck, right? I'm like, what the hell happened? Where were you? And she was like, we didn't go see the movie that I told you we were going to see. I'm like, well, what movie did you go see? We went to go see Straight Outta Compton, the NWA like biography movie. And I'm like, are you kidding me? She's like, yeah, we went, to the PG movie, and then we snuck into it. And I'm like, all right, first of all, that's a 2-hour movie. Didn't it occur to you that when I told you I was going to pick you up after the movie is over, didn't it occur to you? I'm not even mad that she snuck into a movie now. I'm mad that she wasn't smart enough to figure out that the time of the movie did not coordinate with the time of the movie that she told me that she was going to see. I'm like, it was a half-hour difference. So because I actually went into the movie theater.
You're not mad at her for lying.
Oh, I'm
you're
mad
at her. You're mad at her for not knowing how to tell time.
I'm more mad at her for not being smart enough to plan for the fact that she may or may not have gotten caught. Right. So I'm mad that she did this, but I'm more mad that I'm like, you're smarter than this. Like, you should have known that the movie was going to end a half hour later. You would either need to leave earlier or whatever. But I forgot to tell you this. I actually did go in and I asked the manager of the theater if I can go into the movie theater where she was supposed to be. And I went in there after the movie was over and it was empty. So that's what freaked me out. That's where I'm running around the neighborhood like a madman. But yeah, it was, it ended up being, they went to see Straight Outta Compton and they wanted to see it. So ironically, for Christmas that year, she bought me Straight Outta Compton on DVD as a joke gift. So it does tie back to Christmas, but
and you didn't use it as your shittiest gift ever, so she should be proud of that.
That's right.
So living up to her request of being asked to talk about, I'm going to tell the other story, which is the one I thought you were going to tell. So you mentioned you think my kids are really smart, and thank you for that. Your daughter is off the charts, right? So, and the funny thing is, this situation you just talked about clearly, I think, was earlier than this one. And she, for some reason, I can't understand this. She must be crazy, thinks you're a cool dad, right? She has said that, right? So cool, in fact, that she decided to tell you that she helped her brother with his exam because my cool dad's not going to get mad at me.
This was recent. This was like 6 months ago.
It was very recent. And so much so that her cool dad was so cool about it that I don't remember what happened.
Oh, she got punished for it. I think the routine punishment in my house, because it's not legal to beat kids anymore. Watch episode 1 and 2 if you want some more info on that. The routine punishment in my house is typically they get their phones and their electronics taken away. Because, to a 16-year-old boy, his computer / Xbox is everything. To a 19-year-old girl, 18-year-old girl, their phone is like their livelihood. Like without their phone, it's like ridiculous. So I don't remember what the punishment was, but it probably had something to do with that. And since I pay for all their electronics, even though she's an adult, I feel like I can still take some of that stuff away. But yeah, she did come to me and she was standing in my office and she's like, "Did tell you?" I said his name again.
Oh, David is having a rough show.
I'll bleep that one out too. El Guapo. Watch the last episode for that one. That's an inside joke. So anyway, she said, "Did he tell you?" And I'm like, "Tell me what?" "Oh, I helped him take his exam." What? I helped him take his final exam because we're in the middle of a pandemic and everything is online. I helped him take his math exam. I'm like, 1, why would he tell me that? But 2, why do you feel like it's okay to share that with me?
Because they thought you were the cool dad, which they found out immediately after they told you that story that it's not true.
Oh, I remember what the punishment was. The punishment was for both of them. He paid her, and I think it was like $40 or $50 to take the exam for him. So I made her pay him back.
Yeah.
So she now took his exam for free. I think I did too, but she now took his exam for free.
Right. So with you wearing your Christmas hat, and I know I've been out to see you around this time of year, but I don't remember what the holidays are like out there. Here in Connecticut, a lot of people put up lights and all those type things that go along with the Christmas season. We don't. So much so that my kid asked me, "Hey, the neighbors have lights on. When are we putting ours up?" Which I responded, "Never." I'm like, "I'm not doing it. It's way too cold out there to put them up." I'm like, "It's not worth it." Do you put lights out at Christmas time out there?
I'm going to get in so much trouble for this because my wife hates me for it. I used to. So we live in a 2-story home. So I didn't do the Clark Griswold where I stapled it to like every square inch of the house, but I used to hang lights, I would outline the entire house, top and bottom, and it looked great. But not only was it like a half a day thing, like a 4-hour thing, but the last time I did it, I almost fell off the roof and killed myself. So I told my wife, I said, "Look, that's the last year I'm doing it. I'm going to hire somebody next year. Next year comes around. I start looking on Facebook for people in the area to do it, and they want like $250. And I'm just like, no, absolutely not. I don't care. I refuse to do it. So I stopped putting lights up. But I live in one of those neighborhoods where I think in some cities they call it like Candy Cane Lane or whatever. Like, there's always that one street where every single house puts lights up and they all go way overboard. In fact, one of the houses, I don't know if it's on my block, but it's in the area. They're on that TV show. There's a TV show on like Lifetime channel, and it's like, the greatest like Christmas decorations ever or whatever. Like every year they're on that show because they go way out of control doing it.
So you pull into your community, you have Griswold house, enough lights for a plane to land, your house with nothing on it, lighted house,
Correct.
lighted house, lighted house. You know what? The
Correct.
good thing, just put up one menorah in the window and you're fine. People are like, oh, he's Jewish. I totally understand.
Michael, that would be deceptive. We don't do things like that. Anyways, so the funny thing about Arizona is obviously there's no snow here. So if you've always lived in Arizona, it's no big deal. It is what it is. If you grew up on the East Coast or anywhere that has 4 seasons, you associate Christmas with the winter and snow and cold weather. And yeah, it's 50 degrees out now, which is freezing if you're used to the warm weather. Yeah.
So you've gone so soft.
Yeah. So, but we try to do what we can to like put up lights and make it, feel festive. The problem though is that Arizona is pretty flush with palm trees. And the big thing that people like to do is they like to Clark Griswold the palm trees. They literally wrap white lights around the palm tree so that at night it looks like every square inch of the palm tree has a light on. I mean, they're literally like these massive beacons.
Yeah, and we have a similar, the normal street trees, people put them on, the towns do it usually. Some people do it in front of their house. So as of right now, I know you're on the west, I'm on the east, but that doesn't sound anything unique to me.
It's not unique, except when they string up the palm trees, they don't put lights on the palm fronds that are at the top.
Okay.
They just put lights on the
trunk
shaft.
Okay.
And you'll see where this is going. So at night, if the only thing that's lit up is the trunk of the palm tree, it looks like a big 50-foot dildo. Okay? Because they're phallic looking as fuck. And just picture an entire street lined with palm trees, and every third one is wrapped to the gild from top to bottom. It looks like dildo, literally 50-foot dildos going down the entire length of the street.
This is funny because this is the same story you tell me when I ask you what is the greatest fantasy you ever had.
I don't think that's it.
Maybe.
No, I'm pretty sure that's not it.
I got to unpack this. I got so many things in my mind right now. A couple things. One, the fact of the matter is that the first thing that comes to mind is it's a big dildo, right? That's
no, that's what it looks like. I'll go take a picture.
Oh yeah,
and maybe I'll add it to this episode. Yeah,
you can get a fucking picture of the monolith. You can get a picture of dildo tree. Go get it. So that's one. Two, the other thing is, ironically, with you not doing lights in front of your house, you're the only dick who doesn't have a dildo tree in front of him. That's the next second thing. The third thing is clearly when you said we have to stop talking about balls and dicks, you must have meant next episode.
Yes, I did.
So much is going through my mind. I feel like one of those like robots that had a glass of water thrown on him. Like, I don't know what to say next. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Oh, it's pretty bad. And the funny thing is, like, people don't get it. Like, nobody gets it. Maybe I just have a dirty mind, and that's all that comes to my mind when I see it. But I'm like, this is normal. Like, every fifth house has this.
See, that's the thing is I think it's what you perceive it as. Because every once in a while, I definitely have a dirty mind. I like saying dirty jokes. I think a dick joke is just as funny as anything else. You
also like to send dick pics, apparently.
Watch the last episode
5 for that.
So, like, well, one time I was reading something and I kept saying, I can't believe that says cock. And my wife says, that says clock on that sign. And I'm like, oh my God. So I think it's perception. So I would like to see this photo and see. I'll tell you what I think once I see it.
All right. I will definitely add it to the episode.
That's great. So speaking of the idea of winter, Christmas is winter and snow, right? The 2 years that I was in...
Typically.
Yeah. Well,
unless you live in Arizona.
Right. When I lived in Australia, same type thing. December is 100 degrees. It's the dead of summer.
Yeah, because it's the opposite of here.
So you're outside in shorts and you're playing games. So that leads me to when I was there, we were barbecuing. And me and my friend, I'm going to call him Penrith, we came up with this idea of Penrith. Yeah, he's a massive Penrith Panthers fan. So it's a football team, or sorry, a rugby team there.
Football.
Yeah.
Oh, it's rugby. Okay.
So I'm going to call him Penrith. So him and I decide I'm going to get a barbecue, right? And we move the barbecue. And in the process of moving the barbecue, we lose or are starting to lose all the rocks that come with a normal barbecue. So you don't, nowadays, most barbecues just have kind of an oil basin to catch them. Some older ones used to have rocks underneath, almost like lava stones or something to catch some of the oil as well, to keep the fire down.
Right.
So
otherwise you get a nasty fire in the middle of like cooking burgers or whatever.
Correct. You get a flare up. Don't ruin my ending. So we decide, we hear from someone, I don't remember who, somebody tells us that, you know what, since you lost the rocks because we spilt them and got oil on them, they're like, what you can use instead is kitty litter. So we go to the store, we buy a bag of kitty litter. Clearly what the person didn't say was, there are different kinds of kitty litter that you should be looking into.
Let me guess. There's flammable kitty litter and there's non-flammable kitty litter.
So there's a version of kitty litter which are like pebbles almost, right? More granular. They would absorb like these rocks would have. We bought the other one. So we put the kitty litter in. We are starting the fire. Going great. First 20 minutes, fucking burgers are on. We're flipping them. No problems. We're giving them to people. You know, we're going through a couple batches. But at the time, it's a ticking time bomb, I guess, in the background, right? Dripping a little bit of oil on them. Dripping a little bit of oil on them. Dripping a little bit of oil on them.
All the cats in the neighborhood are starting to meow.
Yes. Meow and drool. Finally, at one point, the entire barbecue flares up.
Oh,
basically, where we're worried that it's going to burn down the balcony, right? That's how bad the fire is.
Oh, this is an apartment building?
It's an apartment building. It was a balcony. Jesus. We get it under control. I think we might have used fire extinguishers to get it out, or we get it out of there. We put it out, everything. But that batch of burgers was in essence cooked, scorched by...
Oh, they're hockey pucks.
Well, not only that, not only they hockey pucks, but they were flambéed with a little bit of kitty litter surprise.
Oh.
And
you didn't still eat them, did you?
We didn't. Other people at the event did. Yeah, so we handed those out. So yeah, that reminded me of that story. Christmas time, summer, warm weather. Yeah, it's just to me, it's so foreign. Like to me, it's winter.
Yeah,
it's cold. Like all I want for Christmas type shit. No snow. I don't care about that. But that's the season to me. Is that kind of thing. Yeah,
it does get cold. Well, I mean, it's all relative, right? So it does get colder here. Like it'll drop below freezing, like 3-4 in the morning here. So it's not a total wash, but in the 28 years I've been in Phoenix, I think it's snowed maybe 3 times.
Phoenix?
Yeah, no, to where I can actually see it.
Wow.
From my house, and it never sticks. It's everyone runs outside and they're like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And then as soon as it hits the ground, it's gone, right? Because the ground's still hot. So yeah, it is what it is. I mean, like we talked about last episode, you can drive 2.5 hours north of here and get all the snow that you can possibly handle. So that's kind of nice. But I do miss living in a place that has 4 seasons. I do. Right in Arizona, you basically get. You don't really get a fall so much as you get, you kind of get a cold fall and then you get a hot summer. Like spring is like a week and a half. Spring's the time where everybody goes outside and they enjoy it. Like in Arizona, it's just, you go outside and you're like,
July and August.
This is great. And then it's either too cold or too hot. Like on either side of winter, it's not enjoyable for very long. So I kind of miss having more than 2 seasons, which is one of the reasons why we're, potentially in the near future looking at moving to a place that has a little bit more of an even-keeled climate.
Yeah. And so to be fair to you, I know I make fun of you for, being weak and losing your edge that you complain about the cold, but I do remember the first time. So I'd visited you many times in Arizona. The first time I remember visiting you in a winter month, right? I still packed as if I was coming in the middle of July. So I had packed only shorts and T-shirts and things like that. No jackets, no sweaters. And I had to go out and buy things because it was in late at night, it got really cold. So I agree with you. I do think it gets colder there. But I was fucking shoveling 2 feet of snow the other day in about 12-degree temperature. So the fact that you're saying 45 is nippy, like that's ridiculous.
It is what it is. But, some of my best memories in childhood are, in the snow. And, one of my favorite memories actually is the Christmas that you and we did Christmas with our families. And then you and I would typically get together afterwards. And our thing, before it was a big thing, because now it's actually a big thing for everybody, but our thing was to go to the movies on Christmas night, because once you have dinner with your family, there's like nothing else to do. So we would go to the movies. And I remember you and I would go to like the arcade and play for like 2 hours. And then we'd hit up the movie. And one night we actually saw National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation in the movie theater when it first came out. And I mean, that movie has been kind of a staple in my entire life, but it really began like that night when we went and saw it. Cause I remember you and I just laughing our asses off in the movie theater. And then, I've probably watched it every year since.
Yeah. And that movie is one where I know people throw around the text message rolling on the floor laughing. That movie, I remember being doubled over. It was laughing almost the whole movie. That was such a great movie. And then that's the one that afterwards we snuck out and went to see Straight Outta Compton, right? I'm just kidding.
I don't believe so, but yeah. All right. It's one crazy question time. All right. So I came up with the question again. I don't even know that I have. Yeah, I guess I do have a pretty decent answer for this one. So
if you don't have an answer for your own
question,
no,
I do. I'm
going to be like, I'm Michael Carter.
All right. So the question is, if you had to choose between going naked all day, every day, or having your thoughts appear in thought bubbles above your head for everyone to read, which would you choose?
So the reason why this question is great is because I don't feel there's a win situation, right? So if you start with me walking around naked all the time, nobody wins in that situation, right? So much like like people always say, would you go to a nude beach, right? I don't like to go to a nude beach because
the male body was never meant to be seen by other people.
Not only that, like I'm worried of getting aroused on the beach. Like that's my biggest concern. That how fucking embarrassing would that be? That you're seeing all these naked women walking around.
Have you ever been to a nude beach?
No.
I have. There's typically no one on, and the people that are comfortable in their own skin to go to a nude beach are typically not people that would arouse you.
Well, it's good to know. And if you're there, I'm going to avoid.
You talked last episode about having to look around your belly in order to see your nutsack. That's a common thing on nude beaches, let me tell you.
Yeah. So that one I don't want to do. But the other side is, if you've been listening to the last few episodes, this is what I say out loud. Can you imagine what would be in those thought bubbles? I don't think I could do that. I think by default, I have to walk around naked in this case.
Yeah.
What would you do?
So I would have to agree. I read a lot of books as a kid. The book 1984 comes to mind by George Orwell, where he talks a lot about the thought police and how the government at that point in time is able to read your thoughts and people get in trouble for their thoughts. If my thoughts were public, 100%, I would be on death row. 100%, I would be on death row.
It's funny that you don't think somebody would kill you beforehand.
I feel like the shit that goes on in my head is not normal and would easily get me arrested, deported, like whatever. There's just no way.
But let's be honest, though. Let's forget all this shit on the street, something that happens, you're thinking you want to say to somebody, things like that. Let's just back it up a little bit, right? To say the kitchen table where we're having a discussion with our wives and one of them says something and your response to them is probably similar to mine in certain instances where you're like, no, honey, I agree.
Like, does this make me look fat?
That thought bubble alone is probably going to get both of us dead. So, funny story. My wife has stopped asking me those questions because
you tell her the truth.
No, I tell her nothing I can say here is going to be good. So like she'll say, oh, these jeans look good on me. And I'll be like, nothing I say is going to be good because if I say yes, you're going to say, well, you have to say that. And if I say no, I'll probably get a kick in the nuts. So I'm like, I don't answer anymore. And I'll say things like, I don't want to be part of this conversation. I've actually said that to her as well. So, but yeah.
So that, again, the great thing about that question is it's a
no-win situation.
Raw. Yeah. There's just no way you can get away from that safely.
So, again, the not talking about balls and dick and naked next episode. We'll focus on that next episode.
Yes. Next episode, we're going to talk about more humane things.
All right.
But this episode, you're going to make us all laugh with your latest installment of The Jokeful.
All right. Let's see. I did get somebody text me that they actually were walking down the street listening to the iPod, laughing at one of my joke vault comments.
I think you misread that comment.
No, I got it. No,
I don't think they were. I think they were laughing at you. I don't think they were laughing with you.
That's fine. It's better than laughing at me for choosing the going naked one. All right. Joke vault. Rules in NASCAR are so strict now that you have to use your blinker if you want to pass. The smarter drivers will turn on their left one and then go right instead.
Wait, I thought that was the joke about NASCAR. Is it's all left turns? You can't make a right.
Yeah. You know what? That's a fatal flaw in this joke.
You're gonna have to rewrite that one.
Well, considering this one is over 20 years old, you know what?
Wait, so did NASCAR? Did they change
rules
it?
in Formula One are so strict.
There you go.
Because they go left and right. Yeah. Rules in Formula One are so strict now that you have to use your blinker if you want to pass. Smarter drivers turn on the left one, then they go right instead.
Yeah, I'm not editing that one out. They're going to hear that.
That's amazing.
That joke went 30 years without being corrected.
Yeah, I'm glad I found it. Just to be told I don't know what the fuck happens in NASCAR.
All right. Next episode. I have so many good stories about this. I don't know about you, but I've had some shitty bosses in my life. Thankfully, none of them in the recent past, but I have had some pretty shitty bosses that I would love to out in public. I won't name names, but I fully plan on telling stories next episode about worst boss / job I've ever had. How about you?
Yeah, no, I'm in for that. I mean, I might also sprinkle in a few like good bosses I've worked with and reasons why. I'm assuming this isn't a job, so I can't include this as one of the worst ones, correct?
I'm not your boss.
You know it. Like, subscribe.
Yeah, do all that stuff. I've decided that I'm going to stop saying it and just put little graphics up that say like point here and click on this and do that. So we'll see how that goes. But I may actually get lazy between now and the time that we release this video. So happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, Festivus, Hanukkah, all the things. I hope everybody has a fantastic holiday, a safe holiday. And Michael, what do you have to say about that?
I think you've only left me Groundhog's Day. Everybody have a great Groundhog's Day. And with that, I'm Michael Carter.
And I'm David Michael.
And we are
Ridiculously bored.